Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 23 and be with me in the book of Hebrews. Today's title is Jesus, the Superpriest. So yesterday we had this image of this anchor of our soul. So our soul has this rope and an anchor, and where is it anchored? So yesterday we kind of shimmied down the rope and found where it was anchored to, and it went to Jerusalem and to the temple and then to the holy place. And then it goes behind the curtain to the Holy of Holies. And if we peeked behind the curtain of the Holy and Holy, surprise, we find Jesus of Nazareth holding fast to the anchor of our soul. And and our soul is unsnatchable out of his hands. My soul is anchored to Jesus, secure and powerful. And today we're going to find that he's this super priest. So he's there in the Holy of Holies, metaphorically, doing this permanent and effective and substitutionary and representative priestly things. Jesus is the super priest. And to emphasize the point, today in chapter 7, verse 1, the writer of Hebrews is going to say that Jesus is the super priest. And how do we know this? We're going to go way back to the story of Abraham giving a tithe to a super priest of his day, who is Melchizedek. That's from Genesis chapter 14. Let me read our official passage today, which is Hebrews chapter 7. Verse 1, for this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings. I'll tell that story in a second. And blessed him. And to him, Abraham apportioned a tenth of everything. So after this battle, the slaughter that Abraham wins, Abraham gives Melchizedek a tenth. Back to the passage. He is first, by translation of his name, King of Righteousness. That's what Melchizedek means. And then he is also King of Salem, that is, King of Peace. He is without father or mother. So now he's going to talk a little bit about Melchizedek. He's without father or mother or genealogy, at least that we know about, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but resembling the Son of God. He continues a priest forever. So this Melchizedek is a little strange and is going to picture Jesus here. Verse 4, see how great this man to whom Abraham, the patriarch, gave a tenth of the spoils. And those descendants of Levi who received the priestly office have a commandment in the law to take tithes from the people, that is, from their brothers, though these also are descended from Abraham. But this man who does not have his descent from them receives tithes from Abraham and blessed him who had the promises. So Melchizedek is going to receive tithes from Abraham and bless Abraham. Verse 7, it is beyond dispute that the inferior is blessed by the superior. That is, Abraham is the inferior and the superior is Melchizedek in this case. In the one case, tithes are received by mortal men, but in another case, by one whom it is testified that he lives. One might even say that Levi himself, who receives tithes, paid tithes through Abraham, for he was still in the loins of his ancestor when Melchizedek met him. All right, so to emphasize the point that Jesus is the super priest, he goes back to the story from Genesis chapter 14. And the point there is that Melchizedek is superior to Abraham. So Abraham historically had been called and he had been responding in faith, and he had received a promise that all the families of the earth were going to be blessed through him, and the Lord blessed him and gave him growth, and he had 318 men. So he has this calling upon his life, and he's kind of got this nephew Lot, and they were bumping heads. At least their shepherds were bumping into each other. So they decide to split up and separate their flocks. So Lot goes to Sodom. Well, the bad news is there's these kings of Mesopotamia, Persia, Babylon, north of Israel, and they banded together and they made like this super army, and they started to come south and pick off what is now known as Israel. So this band of four kings and their armies start to attack Sodom, where Lot lives, and Sodom falls. And bad news, they take Lot, and one person escapes, and comes back to Abraham and says, Abraham, they got Lot. So Abraham takes his 318 men, splits his forces, chases them down. He leads forth, Abraham himself, goes in pursuit, goes up to the north of Israel, divides his forces, attacks at night. It's kind of like this suicide mission of faith. He doesn't know that the Lord is going to be there and defeat the army, but that's what happened. He pursues them to Damascus, takes back all their possessions, and on the way home, he's met by this super priest, by this Melchizedek. So he's got this massive hoard of treasure from this slaughter of the four kings and their conquered armies, and the treasure, the plunder they got from the kings that they had previously defeated. And this priest of the Most High, who's outside of the line of the Levites, he's kind of unique and he's kind of unexpected priest like Jesus, but he's legitimate. So this high priest in the line of David, but outside the Levitical line on the order of Melchizedek, Jesus is that's kind of code for a superior priest. This priest reminds Abraham that the Most High God has delivered his enemies into his hands. Abraham knows this, and Abraham gives a tenth to this priest. So in the Old Testament, in Genesis 14, there's this shadow, this picture. There's this super priest, now Jesus, to whom we owe everything. He's a priest forever. He's successful. He's bigger. He's better. He's superior, even to our favorite guy, Abraham. He even Abraham, who normally would receive our affection, Abraham says, this guy is bigger than me. So now we have this legitimate super priest is here, to whom we owe our allegiance and tribute. And so we picture our number one Hebrew of all time, Abraham, yielding to this super priest. And similar, now we don't have this shadow of a priest, this Melchizedek guy. Now we have the real thing. Now we have Jesus. Now we have the super priest, Jesus. We have the super priest. We should act like he is. Stay with me tomorrow. We're going to talk more about this super priest, Jesus. Thanks for listening.